Speaking.
Hi.
This is the full group. Am I correct?
Let me try to.
Yes, I think you were correct.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Let me go ahead and... Hi, Miss Ballard.
Hi. There we go.
There you are. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Okay. Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
This is an administrative conference to consider Ms. Cheryl Ballard's level 3 employee grievance. Today's date is May 14th, 2025. The time is now 12:32 p.m. Folks, my name is Lila Olivares. I am the Chief of Schools for Pflugerville ISD, and I am the administrator who is assigned to hear and make decisions regarding this level 3 complaint. In order to provide the most accurate record possible, we are recording these proceedings today. Please avoid talking when others are speaking so that the audio recording will reflect the proceedings accurately. Also, please answer all questions verbally because the digital recording cannot get our head nods, they cannot get our physical gestures. Would each individual please take some time to clearly state their name and position for the record? Let's start with you, Mr. Jacob Wilson.
Jacob Wilson, I am the General Counsel for Pflugerville ISD. I'll speak. My name is Michael Curry. I'm a corporate counsel for Texas Classroom Teachers Association, and I represent the grievant in this matter.
Good to meet you, Mr. Curry.
And I'm Cheryl Ballard. I go by Chrissy, and I suppose the grievant.
Yes. Hi, Miss Chrissy. Good
Hi.
to see you, ma'am. Okay, so let's go ahead and proceed. Thank you, everyone, for the introductions. This is a grievance conference and not a formal evidentiary hearing. There will be no witnesses and no questioning or cross-examination of witnesses. My purpose today is to listen to your concerns. Ms. Ballard, this is your opportunity to fully explain for me your complaint and the facts you allege to be underlying the complaint. You should also detail clearly what remedies you are seeking in this matter so that I can make a fully informed decision with my response. Within the specified timelines, you or your representative, so Mr. Curry, if you are going to be the one making the presentation, can fully do so. You can refer to any documents that you believe are relevant. Keep in mind that if there are new documents to be submitted, and I did check my email before logging on, Mr. Curry, Ms. Ballard, I did not see anything new from either one of you, and I don't know if Mr. Wilson received anything, any exhibits or anything else, anything further. No? Okay. All right, very good. As the level 3 decision maker, I may ask follow-up or clarifying questions. I'll try to stay really quiet as you speak so that I can hear your full presentation. If you do refer to a document during your presentation, please identify the document for the record. Unless you tell me that you expect, Mr. Curry or Ms. Ballard, a greater length of time, I'm going to ask to please limit your presentation to 15 minutes. Do you think we can get this done in 15 minutes in terms of the presentation?
No, ma'am. No.
No?
I'm going to need probably 25 myself.
Okay. All right. So I can give us an additional 5 minutes, so that will bring us to 20 minutes. And then if we need more time after that, we'll go ahead and look at it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Are there any questions regarding how we're going to conduct this conference?
No questions.
Okay. All right. You may now proceed with the presentation of your level 3 grievance. The time is now 12:35.
Okay. And as I said, my name is Chrissy Ballard. My name is Cheryl Christine. I go by Chrissy. And I have spent 30 years in education without a single write-up until this year. I now find myself on administrative leave, having received 4 write-ups in a single year, along with a formal notice that my employment is in jeopardy. This is not coincidental. This began when I started reporting conduct, standing up for myself, and refusing to be silent when policies were ignored Procedures were bypassed, and administrators turned a blind eye to serious issues. I'm here today because I believe that retaliation is being used to silence me, discredit me, and remove me for doing what I thought all educators were supposed to do: speak up. Beginning in January of 2024, I reported a sexual assault of a freshman cheerleader by a senior football player in a teacher's office that had occurred in 2023 and was never fully investigated. Another player held the door while this football player assaulted the student. He later apologized to her. The person who assaulted said that the football player told others that she had willingly participated, which made her afraid no one would believe her. According to the victim, there was an anonymous alert in late 2023, May of 2023. She stated that a board member called her mother, but that she was not questioned. The teacher was quietly moved. The victim was never interviewed by police. Teachers on campus were told that kids were having sex in Vanessa Hill's office, in her classroom, and that was the reason for her being moved to a room without an office. The student later reported to me, and I reported it to administration, that Vanessa Hill asked her last year if she had reported the incident. When the student said no, Hill told her she hoped she didn't because Hill would get in trouble. Later, the student said Hill told her that she had denied knowing anything when questioned this year and warned her not to tell Ballard anything because apparently I'm reporting things. I reported that to administration. The same student was later jumped, the victim of the assault, was later jumped that same year by 3 girls in the hallway outside my door. Administrators, SROs, and security initially blamed her even after reviewing footage. In the SRO office viewing the footage, the consensus was the white girl started it. When I pointed out that she clearly walking backwards with her hands held up in surrender and not initiating the fight, someone remarked, "The blonde protecting the blonde." In January of 2024, I reported an incident in which a student got so high at lunch she couldn't see her feet. She thought she was going to die. She laid on the floor in ISS as directed by Leslie Odewale and Brian Ewell, praying not to die. No medical attention was provided, no parent was contacted, no documentation was created. She told me about it when I returned the next day. When I reported this, I was later blamed for not reporting it in time to retrieve the footage, even though I submitted a written report and USB as requested within 7 days of the actual incident. And we know the cameras last 30. Amika Hunt mentioned that I waited too late the day I reported it. I corrected her at that time. I was asked not to put the report in an email by her. The student later relayed to me that the only time she was asked about it, Hunt focused on questions about me rather than what had actually occurred. When the student mentioned Ewell's actions, she stated that Hunt questioned her because Hunt didn't even remember that Ewell was involved. The conversation took place on the last day of school after I sent a follow-up email to Hunt because I got word that she was blaming me for not being able to report it because I reported too late. So she has had me write it and hand it to her. In May, I actually sent her an email. The same assistant principal here, Leslie Odewale, openly said that she tells students to get high before school and at lunch, as long as they can function. In March of 2020,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm trying to determine how any of this is relevant to the August 2024 memo.
I'm telling you.
None of what you're talking about.
It is. Yes, 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 it is. Just allow me to continue, and you will figure it out. So let me finish. In March of 2024, her husband, Trooper Jonathan Odewale, entered the building armed, bypassed check-in procedures, and physically confronted a student. Reports indicate he had to be pulled away by the SRO and his wife. After a teacher brought it to my attention, I spoke to the student's mother, who was unaware that a DPS trooper was involved. He and Officer DeJesus, commonly known as DJ, have conflicting stories, according to the DPS report, about their conversation and if he was there on official business. I helped the mom report the incident to both PFISD and DPS. The district quickly replied, stating that no policy had been violated. DPS disagreed, and they did discipline Trooper Odewale. In May, I told HR that a student was allowed to graduate with 150 plus absences and falsified makeup hours. The person who allowed it, again, Leslie Odewale. In August, I reported behavior teacher Ramon Nazario for inappropriately full body hugging of female students. One student said his beard scratched her face and that he asked her for her work schedule for when the cool manager was working. AP Tran, who had received a similar complaint from me via Samantha Welch about Nazario the previous year and allowed the behavior to continue, made the student reenact the hug 3 times. 3 times, hugging a person she had no relationship with. The student later disclosed that the emotional discomfort of being forced to repeatedly hug someone she found inappropriate led her to finally report the sexual assault she had experienced the prior year. She explained that Tran appeared to be making her demonstrate the hug multiple times to determine if the student was wrong or if Nazario had indeed crossed a line. Even more concerning, after the student reported the inappropriate hug, she was told not to bring future concerns to me, the teacher she trusted and had already confided in, but only to speak to administrators. This is not only inappropriate, it's a clear violation of the student's right to report concerns to any trusted adult on campus. Students must be free to report harassment and misconduct to any staff member, not just administrators. Restricting a student's voice and removing their agency in this way not only discourages reporting, but actively undermines the very safeguards meant to protect them. It was done, in my opinion, to prevent further disclosures and protect the adult involved, not the students. I also reported racially inappropriate comments by SPED Administrator Samantha Welch, who told a black student, "Don't you want to get away from all these, excuse me, Ballard, damn white people?" I reported substitute Darren Eugene for telling students he didn't want to meet a white woman after they tried to introduce him to me. His punishment was to be barred from subbing at Weiss the rest of the year. The email was sent the last week of school. Additionally, a student aide assigned to ISS, which raises concerns about FERPA compliance, warned me early in the year to watch my back. This is a student that I have had a relationship with for several years at Weiss. He said administrators were asking kids questions and it sounded like they were out to get me. I reported this to Ruth Yamaguchi, who asked for his name, which I reluctantly gave. At one point last year, Springfield and others were allegedly targeting this student so severely that Leslie Odewale actually brought him to my room and asked if he could remain in my room the rest of the day. I made these reports in good faith, not to create conflict, but to make Weiss a safer, more cohesive campus for everyone, students and staff alike. I wanted accountability, consistency, and fairness. I believe then, and I still believe now, that speaking up is the right thing to do. What became clear was how differently reports were handled based on who made them. When concerns were raised by administrators like Amika Hunt, HR responded almost immediately, sometimes issuing notices or actions within 24 to 48 hours. For example, when Amika Hunt raised concerns about an email I sent to staff and characterized it as creating a hostile work environment, even though the email was factual and professional, HR responded almost immediately. Ruth Yamaguchi visited the campus and a formal write-up was issued against me immediately. Policy language and about professionalism was broadly interpreted to support her claims, despite there being no disruption or complaint from the staff who received the email. These kinds of responses stand in stark contrast to the delays and silence I experienced after reporting student safety concerns, safety violations, Title IX concerns, the racially charged comments from staff. When SRO officer DJ reported that I had used profanity in the SRO office. Believe me, there's plenty of profanity in the SRO office. While venting in frustration about an email situation, both Willie Watson and Ruth Yamaguchi arrived at Weiss in a remarkably short period of time. Their response was immediate and decisive. I was written up for the incident, even though I have a recording that shows the profanity came only after being disrespected, dismissed, and told the issue was being handed off to someone I didn't trust. Amika Hunt's concerns consistently triggered fast-track responses with HR personnel, including Ruth Yamaguchi and Willie Watson, sometimes appearing on campus within hours. In contrast, my repeated and detailed reports, including those supported by physical evidence, were routinely ignored. There was no comparable urgency, no rapid deployment, no direct follow-up. It was clear whose voices carried weight in the district and whose did not. This includes incidents I reported that took place in the SRO office itself where professional boundaries and response protocols were not followed. I also raised concerns about the close personal relationships between certain SROs and administrators, namely Officer DJ and Leslie Odewale, and how that dynamic may have interfered with impartial responses and accountability. SROs were being asked by Leslie Odewale to kill bugs in classrooms, but yet when I requested the same SRO to enter the restroom to see if a student had gone in there, I was refused. In addition, a campus administrative assistant reported a troubling anonymous social media account known as the Weiss Shady Room, which has been used to target and bully both students and staff, including posting. Sorry, let me change my laptop real quick. I'm in the truck. Which had been used to target and bully both students and staff, including posting employees' videos from their personal accounts in a homophobic way. When I raised concerns with DJ, Springfield, and Odewale, I was met with irritation and told there was nothing they could do. To this day, that account continues to harass members of the school community without any apparent intervention or response from campus leadership, despite multiple reports to Lisa Patterson, including documentation and in-person conversation that we had. I had yet to receive a single written response or update. The message was clear. Concerns raised by administrators were prioritized. Concerns raised by teachers, especially those that implicated leaders, were met with silence. Meanwhile, retaliation against me escalated. One such example was a private Facebook message I sent to a colleague, an informal after-hours communication, asking a question about Amika Hunt, as directed by a colleague who stated that this person had made mention of it. Despite it being a personal exchange outside of work hours, I received a call from Ruth Yamaguchi that same evening during my personal time. The next day, I was formally written up for the message, even though it clearly did not violate any PFISD employee communication policies. The policy requires that off-campus, non-school related speech be disruptive to the workplace or reflect a substantial connection to job duties. My message did neither. It wasn't sent to students, it wasn't public, and it did not affect instruction or workplace operations. The write-up served no purpose other than to add another mark to my file consistent with the pattern of retaliation I was already experiencing. One example involved the September 24th situation, which I was pressured to change a student's grade despite UIL eligibility rules. The student told me directly that Miss O, referring to Leslie Odewale, was going to fix the grade. When the student's father came to campus to meet with me, he actually asked to meet with Odewale first. I approached him. I'm so sorry if I'm going over, but I need to say this. And let him.
So,
and
Ms. Ballard, let me just interject here for a minute. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. The time is 12:50. I'm going to allow an additional 5 minutes, and then we'll conclude the presentation. Can you please?
I can.
Give us the next. Give us your conclusion in the next 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
I was pressured to change a student's grade. The student's father came to campus, asked to meet with Odewale, and I led him to my classroom. We actually had a meeting planned. Chad Dempsey, the AP who was in the room, allowed him to make repeated demands that I change the grade to be confrontational and rude, but I was later written up about the incident per Chad Dempsey's relaying of the incident. Now let's talk about the August 20th write-up. I really think we've gone over that enough. You know, we've talked about, I have the recording. I don't think that we talked about that. I do have the recording of Vanessa Intu saying that she can't run the report, which is contradictory to what she told Amika Hunt, contradictory to what Amika Hunt told me and Ruth Yamaguchi. She clearly said that she could do it. I do want to mention that the substitute that didn't want to meet the white woman, I think I already said that, sorry. Meanwhile, I warned my own students not to hang out in ISS because last year they did and they didn't graduate. There was one student who didn't graduate. A student that was walked to class by Officer DeJesus so that she wasn't tardy. A student that was allowed to hang out in the SRO office in ISS. She didn't graduate. And I told the kids, don't hang out in ISS because, you don't want to not graduate. Somehow that ended up an anonymous alert that Brian Ewell got, reported me. I got written up, given a stay away agreement with Brian Ewell because I told kids not to hang out in ISS. The last thing I want to say is that before all of this, I had a spotless 30-year teaching record. My evaluations reflected my professionalism, passion for students, and quality instruction. I built strong relationships with students, including those who struggled academically or behaviorally. Many have returned over the years to thank me for pushing them or relieving them or for holding them accountable when others would not. As a yearbook and journalism advisor, I consistently produce quality yearbooks. I train students in photography, design, yearbook editing. Students gained real-world skills. Our yearbook was a reflection of the entire campus community, and it mattered. Because I've been removed from my role, this year's book is suffering. Students have said it. Teachers have said it. Coaches have said it. What should be a celebration of their year has been turned into a rushed product with reduced support and guidance. This is not a reflection of those students. It's a reflection of what happens when you remove the educator who built the program. And I want to be very clear what's happened to me. Over the last year, I've received 4 formal write-ups and a stay-away directive. None of them for anything that truly rises to the level of misconduct, and all of them suspiciously timed after I reported serious issues on campus. I reported all of this in good faith. Instead of investigations, I was punished. Meanwhile, the people I reported remained in their positions or were protected. That's not accountability, that's retaliation. Today, I'm asking that the August 20th write-up be removed from my file. Remove the other write-ups in the stay-away order against Ewell. Investigate the incidents I reported, assault, drugs, misconduct. Train staff to stop retaliation and ensure fairness. And finally, have Hunt admit the photo date wasn't just my fault. These actions are necessary not only to repair the harm done to my reputation and career, but to restore trust in a system that should support, not punish, those who speak up in good faith. I stand by every report I've made, every concern I've raised, and every decision I've made to put student safety and ethical responsibility above politics. I didn't fail the district failed me. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Ballard. I thank you for sharing your concerns. Looking at policy DGBA, for which you've received multiple copies of this. This is where it states our grievance process as a district. What we were prepared to look at today in this level 3 was the pertinent information from your level 2 grievance, and so that is what we can address today. And you referenced in the remedies that you just spoke about the memorandum that you received in August. So on August, I believe you said the 20th. Question that I'm posing to you, because today I'm prepared to talk about level 3, which is again limited to the issues raised in level 2. So for that memorandum that you received, will removal of the memorandum resolve the grievance?
Just removal of the memorandum? Is that what you're asking me? Just removal?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything in my file I want out, not just that memorandum. No, it will not resolve it.
Okay, so just to be clear, just for the record, most of what your requested remedies are now, what you've stated at level 3, were not in the level 1 or level 2, so those can't be considered. Policy is pretty clear that this is limited to the remedies requested in this grievance.
Sure.
So what you're asking for can't be granted.
Okay.
Correct, but I was prepared to speak to you about what was in level 2, because I very much want to look at DGBA, and in DGBA we were looking at that memorandum from August the 20th. So again, I will pose to you what we are prepared to address, which is part of your level 1 and your level 2, and that is that memorandum.
Okay. Is there a question? You're just asking me if the memorandum.
And if I can interject
Please
here
do.
to kind of maybe get to that point and stuff. So I understand limiting the grievance to the remedies, and there were 3 remedies that were out level 1, level 2, which is that number 1, the August 20th write-up be removed from the file, campus file, personnel file, anywhere where it exists, and then not to be used against her for any contractual or evaluation purposes. I mean, I believe Ms. Ballard's already retired or submitted their retirement paperwork, I believe. So that may be a moot issue there as far as contractual purposes, but not for the evaluation purposes. So I think those 2 things are kind of to your point. The third thing, though, is where we've had a problem, which is to have, specifically to have Amika Hunt take responsibility for the loss of the date and clarify that it wasn't her problem, her being Miss Ballard. So that's when we have more of an issue. Removing the file kind of addresses, remedy 1 and remedy 2, but the third issue is where we've had a problem with it, which was for Amika Hunt to take responsibilities. And that's really the crux of what Miss Ballard was talking about, that this was just an attempt to shift the blame toward Miss Ballard, when the reality of it, this loss of the date that triggered this write-up really wasn't Miss Ballard's fault, as we've outlined in both the grievance and the prior level 1 and level 2.
Okay. I do see the 3 requests requesting that the August 20th write-up be removed from the files. That's what we were ready to discuss. That the write-up not be used against Ms. Ballard for contractual or evaluation purposes. That's that. And then I would like for Amika Hunt to take responsibility for the loss of the date and clarify with staff and parents that it was not solely her fault. That's what you're referencing here in the last.
Correct. Those are the 3 remedies that I know, were limited under the policy for what we brought up. And those are the things that were brought up at the level 1 and level 2 revolving around the August 20th memo, which is essentially remove it, not to be used against her. And then that third thing, which is to, is this really someone else's responsibility? And that's what that third remedy was in there.
I believe that for the response to level 2, that remedy was denied. That last remedy. Okay. All right, Mr. Wilson, was there anything else from you?
No. I think that addresses the remedies that are relevant.
Okay.
To this reading.
Okay, and that's helpful to me as the administrator over the grievance. I really want to make sure that we all, but especially Ms. Ballard, you and I have clarity on what is and is not feasible as we move forward. So thank you both. So at this time, the level 3 grievance presentation has been concluded. I'm going to outline my process for reaching a decision in this matter. So in my decision making process, I'm going to consider what you said. We have a transcription and a recording of this information. And I'll consider any other relevant documents or information I believe will help us resolve the complaint. I will prepare a written response to the level 3 grievance and send it to both of you within 10 business days from the date of this conference, as provided by the timeline set forth in our Pflugerville ISD grievance policy, DGBA. Thank you so much to both of you for your cooperation. At this point, we're going to conclude the conference, and the time is now 1 p.m.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.